Hey Weirdos, this is Evan Jarvix with Make Oklahoma Weirder, and this is your local music vlog for the week. It is June the 7th, Friday afternoon. We are in June. We are in the middle of summer, and it certainly feels that way, especially given the new release from Poolboy, which dropped today, which is where I'm going to start. Poolboy has been around for quite some time. I have yet to actually catch a show of theirs, which is my bad. Granted, for a while it was really hard to catch one just because they played so infrequently because, their members are very busy, often with other projects that they're involved with. But this year in particular, I have no excuse because they've been playing a lot of shows. They've really been making a point, really building up toward this album, which dropped today. And, I've been following them on Instagram, been seeing the album kind of come together in the studio, and, of course, all the shows that they've been doing, mostly in Norman. But to be fair, Norman just has more venues than Oklahoma City does right now. Yeah, Poolboy. Haven't listened to the whole album yet because it just dropped today, but it's, from what I've heard so far, and I'm looking forward to checking out a more full listen of this. But this thing rocks. This thing is awesome, and it's really something I look forward to just like rolling down the windows and just blasting out of the car because it's really that fun. It's a fun album. It's high energy. It moves. It has like awesome efficiency to it. There's really no, from what I can tell so far, there's not really any kind of like slow points or tracks that you're going to want to skip. Like this is, I never skip tracks anyway. I kind of judge everybody who skips tracks on full-length albums. But, Poolboy. I hear them often described as kind of like a punk band, but given what I'm hearing here, I don't know that I really agree with that. I know their EP that came out a few years back, which people were really into, might have sort of expressed that a little bit more so. But especially on this new project, it just feels like a really awesome high energy rock album. And maybe it's just because it's so fast paced that it kind of reflects some of that punk influence, which is definitely there in some way. But I just think it's a great rock album, like all together. I think you could just as easily call this an indie rock album, although that's a very, very broad brush these days. But then again, so is punk, I think. But it's definitely not kind of the DIY sort of lo-fi, rough around the edges kind of punk that I'm more so familiar with and more so characterized with that genre. Poolboy, this new album is definitely well produced. It sounds great, and it's on the Guestrum Records label, by the way, also, which is a very rare thing. Guestrum Records rarely put stuff out on their own label. When they do, it's a big deal. You also know they probably are friends with the folks in the band, but hey, that's the way it goes. But catch this album. Don't let this one slip by you, and catch a show, and maybe we'll catch one together. I want to mention Brad Fielder. Brad Fielder, one of the most underrated singer-songwriters in the public consciousness of Oklahoma, in my opinion, of any genre, although he particularly sticks kind of to I wouldn't say outdated, but it's definitely an older take on the folk Americana thing. A lot of people have kind of really tried to modernize it in a lot of ways in recent years, and he is very defiant to that, I think. He's defiant to a lot of things. He's fiercely independent as an artist. He's not signed to a label. He doesn't really bow to any kind of trends that I've seen. And yet he's just, crusading in his own sort of everyman voice. I've written about Brad Fielder in a couple of glowing reviews over the past couple of years since he's been putting out really great material. And he's been in my Big 50 a couple of times. Anyway, Brad Fielder, if you don't know Brad Fielder, I could go on about Brad Fielder. But he put out a couple of videos earlier this year that were sort of live music take sessions, like in a living room. Really kind of had a nice down-home charm to them. Everybody's like dressed in their Sunday best and just putting on a good tune. And there was one that was Traveling Junkman Blues, which was premiered on an Americana website that I'm not really familiar with. And then another one was Hot Sauce and Soppin' Bread, which premiered on my website. So if you go to MakeOklahomaWeirder.com, check out the blog. I've written about one of these tunes more in depth if you want to hear a little bit more about me talking about Brad Fielder and this particular video series that he did, which I am a fan of, and very gracious that he let me premiere that video. Well, both of these tunes are now available to purchase and listen to. He's officially released them as music, more so as like a single with Traveling Junkman Blues, and the other song's kind of like a B-side, kind of like the old-fashioned ways of releasing singles. So that's really cool. It'd be really cool if like that came out on like a 45 at some point. I don't know. I know it's really expensive to do that, but we also have a vinyl label in town now with. I don't know if you've been following the OK series that was really just on fire last year from the Claire Story AV people or person. It's really a one-man deal, putting out a lot of singles from local artists. I feel like Brad Fielder would fit right in with one of those if they were so inclined. But I won't linger anymore on that. Although I will mention, if you did follow them, I know that those that Oklahoma OK series, which ended up being 4 smaller records, you can get those in a box set now, which I missed whenever it came out, but they've got them at guest rooms, so definitely something to check out. Probably makes a cool gift for vinyl lovers and local lovers alike. So shout out to the record label. There's a lot to talk about. Got to mention Homecoming Kings, which is happening tomorrow at the 51st Street Speakeasy. Any hip-hop show at Speakeasy is a guaranteed good time. Just flat out. I've never been to one that just hasn't been like the most lit place to be in the city. So just got to mention that. Homecoming Kings got a big feature in the Gazette this week, which is really awesome. So a couple of my favorite faces of hip-hop happening right now who are kind of newer faces to me. I know everybody's always been doing their thing for a while, but Thomas Who and DZ both got some really awesome shout-outs from the Oklahoma Gazette people who have just been doing a great job when they can to cover local music. There's so much music to cover that when they do hit the local music, it's awesome. But we have so many touring artists that a lot of times it kind of takes the focus away. So shout out to them for covering Homecoming Kings. That's happening at the Speakeasy. Going to be a great time. I want to mention Rooftop Hop, which I went to on Tuesday. If you don't know, this is OK Sessions' spiritual successor, in my opinion, to Deep Deuce Sessions, which happened last year. That was a monthly occurrence where you had multiple stages running at the same time at different businesses with different genres of music playing. And yeah, this is kind of the same thing, except it's once a week for a 6-week run. And it's happening way north at the Chisholm Creek area, which I'd never been to, but is pretty cool. It's pretty upscale in terms of your businesses, and there's lots of bars and restaurants around. If you know where Top Golf is part of that area. And Top Golf is actually host to one of those stages. There are some other ones, but the Rooftop Hop is really nice because a couple of these venues actually exist on roofs, like business roofs. So, like I went to Chalk was one of them, which is like a sports bar, but they have like a really nice roof area, and there was jazz playing out there, and it was just really nice. Once the sun went down, it was pretty hot when the sun was out, but Rooftop Hop, I really gotta kind of give it to them. It's a really cool thing. I hope they can continue doing things like this. So shout out to OK Sessions. There's 3 more weeks of this. So again, these are happening every Tuesday for the next few weeks. Lots of great artists coming up. Don't have a lot of time left. I got like 30 seconds, but I want to shout out Dark Drinker, who is making a debut appearance this weekend at 89th Street. 89th Street, which plays host to a lot of our metal shows around town. Dark Drinker is kind of a new act that put out an album in January that I liked quite a bit. As far as metal goes, it kind of kept my attention, and it didn't outstay its welcome. Kind of tried some interesting, different ideas that I don't always hear in metal albums. So catch that show with Discordia this weekend.